So we're going to start by logging in to brunswicktoollibrary.myturn.com. Okay, we'll just go over here and click log in. You can put in your username and password. If you don't remember your username or your password, you can go to forgot password, fill in your username, email, or member ID. And if you don't know any of those, then you can send us an email at btl@brunswicktoolllibrary.org and we can look it up for you. That brings us to our dashboard. Your dashboard might look a little bit different, but it fulfills the same purpose, really. So first thing we're going to look at is looking for a tool to check it in or to look at its properties. So let's have a look at a tool, say, that we know the number of. So we have it in our hand and we can read the number off of it. This brings us to the tool page and we can see that it's been reserved. Later on we can look at the calendar. We'll find out if it's out or if it's overdue. If we wanted to check it out, we can click check out here. And that brings us to asking us which user we'd like to check it out to. Now, this is one of many ways you can check out items. So you can just put the user's name or member number in the search field and it'll bring it up here. So if you wanted to edit the item, if you wanted to change its description or its title, you can click on edit here. And this brings us to the edit page for the item. And we'll look at most of this in making a new tool. But the main things for editing tools is changing status. So that's changing from in service to in sickbay or needs testing tag or retired. The other thing is maintenance notes. So maintenance notes are notes to other admins. So the Maintenance Monday repair crew or other people. So they are not visible to members. So that's where you can put things like member has damaged a tool and the details about that damage, whatever the member told you that they were doing while they were using the tool, and whatever payment they made in order to try to rectify that issue, as well as any service or repairs will be indicated in that field, and also any retirements, any details about the retirement will also be indicated in maintenance notes. So what we're going to do now is create a reservation on the behalf of a member. So they've called us up or they're standing in front of us and they're asking to reserve an item. This is very straightforward. All we have to go to is their member page. And so normally we're over here, but we're going to click on their actual username here. And that's going to bring us to their member page. Now up in the top right corner of the member page, we're going to have some buttons here. So one of them is reserve and the other one is list reservations. So list reservations is where you can find the active reservations that a member's already made, and reserve is where we go to make a reservation on their behalf. So it's going to ask us the date that they'd like to pick it up. So let's say they want to pick it up on the 18th and they want to return it on the 25th. So we can do that, hit start. So now we're in the mode of making a reservation for that member. So you can see that indication here. You can see the cart's activated. So we just want to make sure that while we're in this mode that we are doing just that for that member. Because anything that we reserve in this mode is going to be for that member. So let's say they want a sheet sander. We'll reserve that for them. And we want some pliers and maybe a miter box. Probably need a saw with that. So let's go find a saw. Okay, we're going to get a crosscut saw. Okay, so that's now all been added to our cart, so we can see that here. So we're going to go up to the cart here. They're going to pick them up. Any notes that we have, so if they specifically asked for a specific item number, we put the item number in here, and then we're going to submit reservation. Okay, so that's been completed. So next we're going to look at prepping reservations. So this is what you do as soon as you've set up the library and before the library actually opens. You're going to go ahead and look at the reservations that we have and start prepping them up. So in order to do that, we go to Tools and List Reservations, okay, and we're going to start prepping the orders. So in order to do that, we go to Build Order, and we're going to go and find this item with this number in the library. And when we find it, we're going to put it on the prep shelf, and then we're going to go to order. Now, if it doesn't fit on the prep shelf, it can go just outside the library door. Now, for example, in this case, they did specifically ask for this miter saw, But in the case that we have a different 254 millimeter compound miter saw and we can't find this one, or this one's inconvenient to get, we can add the other miter saw here. And if it has the exact same name as the one they've requested, it will automatically replace. If it's a different size miter saw, then it won't automatically replace, and you'll have to delete the old one. So when we're finished there and everything's been added to the order, we just go back. This page automatically saves. Okay, and then we go on to the next one. So in this case, you can see there's an error here, and it's just indicating that this item is overdue, so we can go and have a look at it. And yes, we do see that it is overdue. And yeah, in this case, this member's already been alerted, the one who has it overdue, and Susie's also been asked to come in a little bit later. So in this case, we can't prep that one, but and in the case that this message comes up, just go ahead and discard and build order. Okay, so in this case, we're going to prep the paint scraper, but we can't prep the sander. And if we try to, it will tell us it's not available. So assuming we went through each of these orders and we put everything on the prep shelf and we've built order for each one, then we're done. So now we're going to look at checking out items to members. So if a member comes in and gives us their name, then we can put their name in the Find User field, and we can go to Start Cart for them. So this will often come up, this user has an unfulfilled reservation for today. Do you want to view it? Yes, you always want to view it. Because what happens here is that if you don't view it, it will not allow you to check out those items, even though they're reserved for this member. So no matter what else is happening, no matter how else you've reached this screen, you always want to view the reservation. Okay, so this brings us back to the build order page, and assuming that this reservation has been prepped, then everything is in the added to order area. If it's still up in the items and reservation area, then it hasn't been prepped and you'll have to go and get it specifically from the library. But in this case, it's been added to order, so it should be ready on the prep shelf. We can go and get it. And then we can hit checkout. That'll bring us back to the check-in, checkout page, and it automatically adds the checkout items to the checkout area. Now, if they have anything to check in or renew, then this will appear up here, and you can do this at this point. So in order to go ahead with this, anything that's in check-in, checkout, you can either check in or renew, and we'll look at that in a minute. And anything that's being checked out is listed down here. Now the due date, if it's a reservation, the due date is selected by the date that they selected in the reservation. So that's the 24th, which is a Friday, which isn't right. So we have to adjust that. So we'll set that to the 25th. It'll ask us if we want to change all the items in the cart and say yes. Now normally this is fine because we check the dates when we prep the order. If there's any issues with membership, their membership has expired or it's expiring soon and they'd like to renew, then you can easily do that. If they're renewing the same membership, then it will update as a year from the expiration date if it's a regular or concession, and 6 months if it's a volunteer membership. If they're changing memberships, then you have to make sure that you're setting this as a year from their expiration date or a year from today. If they've already expired, then it would be a year from today. So assuming that this member is changing from volunteer to regular, they now have an $85 fee to pay here. And if we open up the payment section, we can add that in. So here we have an $85 fee and we have $85 unpaid. Now if they pay by PayPal, either online or using the Tap and Go reader, then they can just pay by it's PayPal external, and you hit enter here. If they pay by cash, select cash here, and hit enter. You just want to see that this amount is now 0 since they've already paid. If you make a mistake, you can delete those, go back and do it again. So you know, when you record transaction, it is set in stone. You can no longer edit the transaction. So if you make a mistake, make sure you fix it before you hit record transaction. And then you just hit record transaction. Not every transaction is going to involve money. Not every transaction is going to involve membership. And sometimes you have just check-ins and sometimes you have just checkouts, but every time you have to do record transaction. That actually saves it in the system, and if you don't do record transaction, then nothing happened. So now let's look at checking in some items. So the first thing you want to get from the member is the number on one of the tools. You can also get their name, as we saw before. The number on the tool is the quickest way of doing it. So assuming they've given you that number, we put that into the check-in and check-out field. So let's check in or out here. And it brings us directly to the check-in and check-out page. So if they want to check in some things and renew other things, Let's go check in here, and let's say they want to renew the palm sander, they can do that. So that's added the renewal down in the checkout field, and the electric brad nailer is just being checked in. So this is how it should look if you're doing renewals or partial renewals. Like if they wanted to renew both, then we can hit renew there, and that's added it here. You don't want to uncheck these because these checkboxes indicate that it's being checked in. So how the system handles it is that it's being checked in and then it's being checked out again. If there's anything to do with membership or fees, you can indicate that here. If there's a late fee, then that will be indicated down here under late fees, and you'll have to take payment for that. Payments come in here like we saw before. If they've purchased anything, consumables, blades, sandpapers, if they want to make a donation, or if they are paying for a tool replacement or a repair fee, you can put that in additional fees. So let's say that was $6, put that in there, and then they pay by tap and go, you put in PayPal external. Okay, if they pay by cash, change it to cash, put that in. And then every time, record transfer. So something else we might be doing is adding a new tool to the library. And in this case, you can hit Tools and then Add New Item. Or if you're in the admin view, you can go to Add Item up in the top right. So that's going to bring us to the item type page. And we're going to put the item type in whatever we think it might be. So let's say it's a saw. Saw here. There's the hand tool saw. There's also a power saw. So we actually want to go, let's have another look. Power saws, that's what we want. And let's say it's a jigsaw. Okay, I'll continue. So now we want to have a look at the name. So the item ID is going to be automatically assigned, so you don't have to worry about that. But the name you have to carefully input. So we're going to make a new tab, and we're going to go search for a jigsaw, because we want to find out what the other jigsaws are called. Okay, so they're just called jigsaw. See, this here is your number of tools that are available, number of tools that are in that group. If we limit it down to in-service tools, we have 7 jigsaws. They're just called jigsaw, so we're going to name our new one jigsaw, so it becomes part of that group. Because anything with the same name is going to be considered an equivalent item. Okay, so name, jigsaw. Same capitalization, same everything. Now if you had something like a compound miter saw, it would be compound miter saw. If it's a sliding compound miter saw, it'd be sliding compound miter saw. Then with a space and the size of the blade, 254 millimeters in this case as an example. Okay, but that's just to have a look. So have a look at the library before you make a name, just to make sure the name is the same as the others. This one's going to be in service. So if it was a new donation and there wasn't a test and tagger on site, then it would be classified as needs test and tag, and that would be left for the test and tagger to do at the next opportunity. In this case, we're assuming there is a test and tagger available, and they're going to test and tag it immediately after we're finished. So we'll check that as in service. So assuming it's a Black & Decker, and it's a KS500A-XE. Put the model number in there. So that's the most important things. If it does have a manufacturer and model number, just put that in. Product code and serial number, you don't have to worry about. The description here, what we want to do is do a Google search for Black & Decker KS500A-XE and see if we can find a product page, a manual, an exploded view, and or a parts list, and potentially any YouTube videos that show us how to use it, how to change the blade, anything like that. And then we want to put that in the description. So what you want off the product page is the features list off the product page and the specifications. So we can paste that into the description. The other thing we were going to want to do is put anything that comes with it, just things that the librarian should be looking for on the check-in and check-out of the item. Then you're going to paste in the features list from the manufacturer and any specifications that you can find. And then I put down here some links. You don't necessarily need to do these headings, but you can if you want. So this is links to the manual, to the exploded view, manual, exploded view, parts list, and maybe any YouTube videos that you can find that tell you how to use the tool. And that's basically what you're looking for. You can also link up to the product page as well if it's useful. Sometimes they have videos from the manufacturer on there as well, so you can link that in. And that's the description, really. Come down here, so location code in this case we don't have to use, and down here on categories it's a power tool, so select the categories that apply. Could be garden tool as well. If it's a chainsaw, for example, that's power tool and garden tool. Keywords is anything else that people might use to refer to the tool, so maybe like a scroll saw or something like that, and anything that's already in there in the name or in the description will be part of the keywords. Maintenance is where you put anything that other admins need to know about, so any maintenance notes, any repairs that were done or needed to be done, or any issues that you or a member encountered with the tool. Condition, number 1's poor, number 5 is like new. Tools don't require any agreements, that's managed through the users, and you don't have to worry about the weight unless you come across it particularly. Image here is a picture of the tool that you're going to take yourself, and additional image is fairly uncommonly used. It's just if there is a placard, like a safety placard, or something like that, anything additional, close-up of the tool, etc., you can chuck that in. So a picture of the blade maybe, or something like that. An attachment is where you're going to attach the manual. Loans and money, 7 days is normal. 1 is the maximum number of renewals for power tools. If it's a hand tool, you can hit override and put in 2. That's the maximum number of renewals for hand tools. The amount fee per loan is 0, and the daily late fee is 3 if it's a power tool. Again, if it's a hand tool, override, and then put 1. Okay. If it was purchased, you check the purchase flag, and put in the date that it was purchased. If it cost us money to buy, then we put in the historical cost, and then you also need to look up the replacement. It doesn't necessarily have to be for this exact tool, or replacement for this exact tool, but you want it to be for a reasonably comparable tool, potentially for the same manufacturer, around a similar price point. If we got it from a source or supplier, you can put that in there. If it was just a donation, you can leave it blank. Okay, and then you're going to go save. That will automatically assign you an item ID. And then you're going to take a photo of the tool. You can look up the item ID once you've saved it with your phone and upload the photo. And then you can also label the tool. So what you want to do is label the tool with at least one of the label maker labels with some thick plastic tape over it. And then you also want to write on it in Sharpie, BTL, and the item number in at least one other place. So something else we might encounter on a shift is a new customer coming in who said that they have signed up online. So in order to do that, we need to go to Customers here in our dashboard and go to Request to Join. So this will give us a list of all of the requests that we've had. So what I like to do is sort this by ID with the largest IDs at the top, and we can have a look at these members. So ask them their name, and you'll be pretty quick to find them in this one, and you can also just search up here. So assuming that Mr. Testy has come in to join the library, we just want to edit here, and this will bring us to the edit member page. So what we want to do is get a form of photo ID, so a Victorian driver's license or any other form of photo ID will work, and we want to take a photo of it with the BTL phone. And you also want to take a photo of their proof of address and their concession card if they have one. And those photos will go to BTL management, so you don't have to do anything further with that. All you have to do is update their note and just put in ID confirmed. And then we can have a look at the membership. So under membership, it's currently a new membership request. We want to change that to whichever type of member that they're going to be. So if they're a concession member, they're 55, and if it's a regular member, then it's 85 for the annual membership. So we'll set that. It'll set the expiration date as a year from today, so just make sure that you adjust that if it needs to be adjusted, but a year from today is usually correct. Now, if they've paid by PayPal already, then you might need to check with a senior volunteer just to verify if they've paid online. And if they've paying in person with the Tap and Go reader, then it's still a PayPal external. So in order to record that they have paid, you just click enter here, and this will enter a payment of 85. So we have a fee of 85 here and a payment of 85 here. Now, you could do multiple types of payment, or it could be a funny amount, and that's all manageable through just changing the numbers here and just doing enter. So in this case, we're going to save that, and then they have become a full member. So the other thing we need to check as well is just to have a look at the agreements. And in this case, they've already signed everything online. So this one here and anything further is just for volunteers, but these borrowing rules, next step, and date of release is what the members need to sign. So if they haven't signed, there'll be a sign option here, and you can also email them that. So in this case, you'd want to email them the agreement,